Obligation is a phantom. It exists only in the mind of the one who believes in it. And the moment you stop believing, it vanishes like smoke. Think of it this way. The universe doesn't owe you anything. The sun doesn't rise because it should. The rain doesn't fall because it ought to. These things simply happen, freely, without debt or obligation. And you're part of that same natural flow. I've often said, tomorrow and plans for tomorrow can have no significance unless you are in full contact with the reality of the present. And obligation is always about the future, about what you owe, about what you should do. But right now, in this moment, there is no debt. You are free. When you encounter this mask, you will feel the invisible strings pulling at you, the subtle manipulations, the emotional appeals, and it's easy to get tangled up in them, trying to prove you're a good person, trying to meet expectations you never agreed to. But you don't have to cut the strings. You just have to notice them. And once you see them clearly, they lose their power entirely. This is the person who seems to drain the very air from the room. They talk endlessly about their problems, their exhaustion, their struggles. And when you walk away from them, you feel as though someone has reached inside you and unplugged some vital current. What's happening here runs deeper than mere complaining. This person lives under a fundamental illusion. They believe they are separate from the source of life itself. They see themselves as a container, and that container is running empty. So they look outward, seeking to be filled. Attention, sympathy, energy, anything to make them feel whole again. But here's the profound truth they cannot see. What has no bottom cannot be filled. No amount of energy from others will satisfy them. Because the real problem is not that they're empty. The real problem is that they believe they are a separate, isolated thing in the first place. Look at a wave in the ocean. Does the wave need to steal water from other waves? Of course not. The wave is the ocean, temporarily taking a particular shape. When the wave crashes, it doesn't die. It returns to what it always was. But the one who feels cut off has forgotten this. They believe they are just the wave, separate and alone. And from that belief comes insatiable hunger. I've often reminded people, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. But the energy thief cannot hear this. They're too busy scanning the horizon for the next source to drain. And when you encounter someone like this, your natural instinct is to help, to give, to fill their emptiness with your presence, your time, your vitality. But you cannot fill what believes itself to be separate. The kindest thing, the truest thing you can do is step back, not with coldness, but with clarity. Because as long as you keep giving, they'll never look within. They'll never discover that the source they're seeking isn't in other people. It's in the recognition that they were never separate to begin with. And that recognition, that's something no one else can give them. So here they are. 7 masks, 7 ways that human beings become tangled in their own costumes. But I want you to understand something crucial. These are not 7 separate problems. They're 7 expressions of one single confusion. The confusion is this: mistaking the temporary for the permanent, mistaking the role for the reality, mistaking the mask for the face. And every bit of suffering that comes from difficult people arises from this one error, not just their error, but yours as well. Because when you react to their mask as though it's real, when you defend yourself against their performance, when you become angry or hurt or exhausted by their behavior, you've forgotten too. You've forgotten that you're watching a play. And in that forgetting, you've stepped onto the stage and started acting out your own role. The wounded one, the defensive one, the righteous one, the exhausted one. And now there are 2 masks colliding, 2 roles entangled, 2 people who have forgotten they're playing parts. But the moment you remember, the instant you see the game for what it is, everything changes. You don't need to fight them anymore, because there's no one there to fight. There's just a mask worn by someone who has forgotten they're wearing it. And when you stop defending your own mask, when you stop taking your role seriously, the whole performance collapses. Not with a struggle, not with a battle, but with a kind of gentle falling away like autumn leaves releasing from a tree. I've spent many years trying to express this in different ways. The more a thing tends to be permanent, the more it tends to be lifeless. And these masks, these rigid, defended personalities, are exactly that. Attempts at permanence in a world that is always, always moving. But you don't need to be permanent. You don't need to defend a fixed image of yourself. You can move with life, flow with it, respond to it freshly in each moment. And when you do, difficult people stop being difficult. Not because they've changed, but because you've stopped playing the game they need you to play. You've stopped being the audience that validates their performance. You've stopped being the opponent they can fight against. You've stopped being the rescuer they can depend on. You've simply stepped outside the theater entirely. And out there, in the sunlight, beyond the stage and the masks and the performances, that's where life actually is. That's where freedom lives.